Welcome everyone to
They Might Be Self-Aware.
I am Hunter Powers, joined by
Robot voice, Daniel Bishop.
It's pretty convincing.
It was basically the same thing
it's
as
like
you
talking
did.
to the fan. Did you ever do that? You know?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, that's not all we're talking about today on the podcast. We've got some new gadgets to take a look at and decide whether they are remarkable or forgettable, including hands-on with one of the latest e-ink tablets.
We'll also be chatting about foldable phones. Are they the future or a blast from the past?
One of our favorite companies, Teenage Engineering, was going to get us talking with their tech and AI transcriptions.
You can do with transcriptions and a whole bunch of other things is put them into Google's new NotebookLM and realize the dream of effortless knowledge synthesis. Say that 5 times fast.
No, but LinkedIn is certainly trying to with their new large language model. We'll ponder what it is and what it might be used for.
And speaking of social networks, is social media going full AI? There is one that is, and it's just AIs talking to each other. And we'll talk about that.
I'm pretty sure everything's going full AI, including the future of work, as we will discuss whether we even need to show up anymore. It's all up next because you are listening to
They Might Be Self-Aware.
What you doing there, Hunter?
I'm just taking some notes on my remarkable Paper Pro.
I was just reading some notes on my remarkable.
I got this yesterday. I was in Hong Kong 2 days ago. But now it is mine and mine alone, or at least, this exact one. I think a lot of people ordered it, and I can do things like, they might be self-aware on a tablet with an e-ink display that feels like paper-ish. And I guess I can do color too, although the color is, kind of but it does have color. Let's see, blue and choose.
It's going to be great for the listeners and non-watchers of the podcast, but check us out on TikTok if you haven't already, and you can see Hunter drawing on his tablet in blue.
I can't even tell that's blue. Did I choose blue? It doesn't really. Maybe it's just that particular writing thing. Let's try another blue.
It sounds like you're thoroughly wowed by the color.
Is there like a little
ink.
blue there? You see a little blue?
Yeah, sure. I'll give it blue.
Okay, some blue. I don't know. They advertise these things like crazy. It was all over all my feeds, and I'm looking at it, and
on mine
I'm like,
too.
hey, you know what? I take notes. I sometimes write on paper. This product was clearly made for me and me alone. It's speaking to me on a guttural level. And they, to their credit, they have like 100-day, no questions asked return policy. So I'm like, okay, here's the credit card. Send me one. And I don't know. I mean, I've only had it for hours, and I do take notes. And when I'm working on something new, I often like to start with just like my notebook and a pen and paper, like no computers around, and just start thinking and jotting down ideas and like, all right, I want to build this part first and this part. What about this? And then once I have those ideas, I go to the computer and start building specs, creating wires, et cetera, et cetera. So I like that kind of split between a more analog thinking and a more digital thinking. And so I was like, all right, so, maybe this remarkable Paper Pro something color edition makes that process more, seamless. But I just don't. So one thing, I think it's too big. I was wondering, maybe I would like the one that you have more, because this thing is big. Like, it's awkward to hold. It's so big. When I'm trying to,
it does look kind of huge.
Yeah, and I got some big hands.
Did they make the Pro in a smaller size?
No, you got to get this big one.
All right,
and I think that's part of the reason why I'm sort of nonplussed. And the color is lackluster, and I don't know that I really need the fact that it's color
e-ink at all, though. I mean, it's
a cool factor there.
Pretty new, pretty exciting. if you're excited about such
went out on the
things.
streets and just started shouting that I have a color e-ink display, like I'd get
A
some
lot of
looks.
people turned and gaped
Oh, yeah.
and
Whoa,
started clapping.
Woo!
Now, I have a Remarkable, and I
Do you
like
use it?
I do use it. I use it for taking notes. I don't use it in a way that they show on their website as implied as one of the sort of main use cases. If you go on the Remarkable website, a lot of the top images that you're going to see are of like a PDF and someone circling around a pie chart and adding some notes that they're going to send back. When you use the Remarkable, you can sync it to the cloud and you can get in like a PDF and make your edits and then it'll go back, which I think is really snazzy. I know it connects to Dropbox and Google Cloud. I don't know if it'll go into like your SharePoint drives and so on. So being able to sync things all the way might be a little bit of a pain. The bigger pain though is I can download something like a Word document or a PowerPoint presentation, and I can make my edits on that and then upload it. But I'm not uploading that document, Google Doc or a Word doc or whatever. You can get them into the Remarkable, but you're getting that converted into a PDF that then can be sent back up. If I make edits on that, they will not be reflected in the original document. I would have to send an uploaded PDF of edits on a Word document to someone to then integrate back in. That part is such a huge sticking point for me that I don't use the Remarkable for anything except for just taking notes myself, which is way less than the sort of value prop that they came up with.
There's no AI.
I don't need the AI in it. I know this is an AI podcast. I don't need AI in it. I just need to actually be able to edit a Google Doc or slides or whatever. What I want is an e-ink Android tablet. And those do exist by other companies. Boox, Boox, I think is one of the like more well received ones. If I were to buy one of these things right now, I'd probably buy that because of the increased functionality. I don't need to watch YouTube videos on an e-ink display. I want to be able to edit a Google Doc or sign into my Microsoft Drive and then, read some file that somebody had uploaded somewhere. And if I want to make edits, have them actually reflected instead of have a PDF with drawings on it that is now a whole bunch of other steps to actually integrate any of that back and forth. So I find that very, very annoying. But like the actual I'm drawing on paper, that it does a very good job with that. On the color side, I don't.
And you only get 4 colors. When we say color, this is a very like historic version of color.
Multiple colors, yeah.
But like there was a time in computers where like you had 256 colors and that was a big deal. 16 colors. That like we've gone back. Now when we think colors implies every color at this point, but it does not on the Remarkable Paper Pro.
Okay.
It's 4 or 5.
I don't know if I need the upgrade, especially as one of my biggest sticking points with it is not addressed. As a reader, like an ebook reader, for example, it works kind of like a Kindle. You can put.
Well, there's no Kindle store though on it. You have to manually.
But you can get PDFs onto it. You can read stuff on it. I think it's great for taking notes. If you want to take paper notes and be able to add tags and reference things in other places, I do think it does a great job of that. But
so this discussion,
the promise that they're selling is not exactly there for me.
Reminded me of another piece of tech and AI related and note taking related that I used to great success. This is the case I have for it.
What is it?
Go in here.
Great ASMR on that Velcro strap.
This is the Teenage. Will you focus? There it goes. Teenage Engineering TP7 voice recorder. And
it looks like something out of Star Wars.
You could do all this on your phone, or you could spend like $1,600 and do it with this Teenage Engineering. But it's a truly, I don't know, independent voice recording device, and it can record multiple channels. It has lots of features. You can scratch it back and forth like you're a DJ. But the point being, I was working on a new, very complicated AI-related, I'm not going to give you all the details, AI-related feature for a company. And I was trying to like get all my nodes together and figure out, okay, how am I going to build this? What are the requirements, etc. So I went out outside of the house, and I turned this thing on, and I rambled for like 45 minutes. I'm like, well, maybe it would do this. Oh, I should probably do this before I do this. What about this? This could be an issue. We need to make sure that we're testing for this case when it goes. Here are some models that exist today that we might be able to leverage, etc. 45-minute ramble. So this automatically transcribes it back to text. I copied the text and pasted it into Claude and said, build a product spec from these notes.
All right.
And it built a beautiful product spec. And all
Now,
these like
Claude built it, not Teenage Engineering. Teenage Engineering just recorded it
got
and
me
gave
the
you a transcript.
text and a really nice transcript. And it synced up with my phone, so I didn't have to get a computer. It just over Bluetooth sends a transcript to my phone. I copy it from there into the Claude app, also on my phone. Build a product requirements spec. I get a giant, beautifully formatted, with tons of detail. I didn't see any errors, read over it, things I didn't think about. It was a great brainstorming experience. So there's a bit of good tech, although of course you could just do that with a voice memo on your phone or anything else that records.
I was going to say, couldn't you just on your phone?
But it wouldn't be for Teenage Engineering, which there it goes.
It does look really nice.
Look at that. And it's got some orange leather on the back too. Just to
beautiful.
Really
they make gorgeous stuff.
It's gorgeous. It's gorgeous.
All right. And what do you think? That one only has 2 colors. It's got gray and orange. So that's half as many as the Remarkable Pro.
This has been a gadget heavy week. The last one I'll mention really briefly. I got the elusive Pixel 9 Fold. Make sure I'm not showing anything I'm not supposed to. No, yeah, the Pixel 9 Fold.
I could even see the sort of crease.
Yeah,
as it
you
went
can see a little bit of a crease
yeah.
there. But honestly, you don't notice it most of the time when you're using it. It disappears.
It's a glare related
It's
thing.
not
If
annoying.
you're not seeing glare anyways, you're not going to see that crease.
And
of course, everyone talks about the crease first, and they talk about, well, how many times can you open it? And that's been mostly figured out. All the different companies that make folding phones say it'll last for 100,000 folds or whatever.
And
as long as you don't put literally anything, even a speck of dust, between the screens before closing it.
Supposedly it's gotten much better than earlier folding models. And supposedly a thing that was a problem before was that they weren't completely flat, whereas now this one is indeed completely flat.
All right.
And I definitely think that folding phones are an important part of the future of mobile computing. I still feel though we aren't quite there yet. This is also going in the Remarkable pile. Send it back. Return to sender.
I had a Razr flip phone way back in the day, and I loved that thing. Why do you think that flip phones are the future and not just the past?
Not flip phones, folding phones.
Yeah. I mean,
because
you flip it out.
Yeah, but I want to flip it out into a giant thing. So what I want to try out the Huawei 3, what's it called? Trifold. I don't know. I think it's illegal in the US. Might get arrested if I purchase it. But that thing folds out to a 10-inch tablet. And I think it's so I really like the idea of being able to work anywhere, to access all of my data and interact with it anywhere in the way that I want to interact with it. And being able to have, there's the iPhone, going from a phone-sized device to a tablet-sized device, or I put my headset on and go full VR, and I can just kind of do that anywhere. Or you
dock it and it goes onto your screens at home.
Yes.
Yeah, I think
really
Ubuntu was trying to make an OS for a while. That it was a phone that you could dock and it's a full computer from there. Supposedly, maybe someday we're going to get more in that direction again. I like the idea of I don't need a computer. I just take my phone and put it into a little dock and boop, now it's up on the TV or the big monitor that I have.
It does come with a year of Gemini Advanced. So I honestly haven't played with Gemini a lot. So I plan to investigate a little bit there. And in fact, speaking of Gemini, maybe we can transition into this. We teased it on the last episode, but Google released something called NotebookLM, which is their, I don't know, how to say it. So the Notebook is a web application to keep track of, information about a given topic, like you would in a notebook, like you might in a Remarkable notebook. And you start by dropping all the materials that you have, audio files, text files, PDFs, presentations, and it's basically forming a knowledge base out of these things that then you can ask questions about. You can say, can you summarize this? What are the big points? You can ask it to quiz you on the information in there. And the idea is that it helps you learn about a subject. But one of the features, which is what we talked about very briefly in a teasing way last time, is that it will generate a podcast about whatever you drop into it. And I may have dropped in the last couple of transcripts from the very well-known They Might Be Self-Aware podcast. And maybe we'll take a little listen here.
You could just tell your computer to build you a personalized app, exactly what you wanted. Mm-hmm. Pretty wild, right?
Yeah.
And kind of impossible. Or is it? That's what we're diving into today. Open source AI.
That's right.
It's hinting at that kind of future. We're talking apps, games, you name it, all built on the fly. And to break it all down, we've got 5 episodes of They Might Be Self-Aware as our source material. Have you checked that one out yet?
I have. It's great.
So these are simulated podcast hosts discussing the transcripts from our episodes with the goal of you as the listener getting to know more about the source material, to teaching you about it in an entertaining way. I'll just play a little bit more.
These 2 AI enthusiasts, Hunter and Daniel, they've got this knack for making even super complex AI topics surprisingly hilarious.
Yeah, they're really.
It's also very flattering.
This is episode 36 of They Might Be Self-Aware, right?
Yeah.
Did we just jump the shark? Is that... We just listened to an AI podcast talking about a podcast about AI.
Good.
And fun, which we appreciate. But before we go any further, let's make sure we're all on the same page. What exactly is open source AI, and what makes it different from the AI we're using every day? What do you think?
I'll post the full
It's 7 minutes long. It's
I'm going to post a link to the full thing in the show notes if you want.
It sounds like a podcast.
It does.
There are little interjections and ums and ahs and yas popped in there. I found it unsettling, which I think means they're doing a good job.
I think it does. I've had the exact same feeling.
Yeah.
You get a feeling a little bit of what are we even doing here? Because it's competitive. I'm not saying it's as good, but I am saying it's competitive as the actual thing.
I want, because this is supposed to take uploading documents about your projects, and NotebookLM instantly becomes an expert in the information that matters most to you. I want to take all of the latest blog posts and files and transcripts from meetings for my work and put it in there, and then have a 10-minute recap podcast of, and here's what's actually going on in the company that you're in. That seems like a huge evolution forward in terms of right now, the state of the art of what people actually use, and that's arguable, is a transcriber and summarizer for a Zoom or Teams meeting. Here is who was talking about what, and here's what the next action items were. Zoom has a transcriber feature with AI. It does a job. I'm not going to say a good job, and I won't say a bad job. It does a job of it, and it will get better. And there are other features like that. And I've seen there's companies like Read.ai and so on that do the same thing of, we will listen to the call, we'll transcribe it, we'll give you a summary and action items and so on. But this is that next evolution of, it's going to look at any documents that you upload into it. And I think those could be transcripts, and it could be the latest uploads to the marketing folder on SharePoint, and it could be your emails and your Slacks and your so on. If NotebookLM, this experiment by Google, were turned into that one step forward of set up all of these integrations and automatically do that, and here's your executive summary for the day or for the week, I would buy that. That sounds awesome. And you can basically do it today. You just have to sort of manually do it. And I'm still going to do it. I will absolutely try NotebookLM from notebooklm.google. I will do that. This is such a cool thing to me. And it's applicable not just to me, and you. This is something everybody, I think, could absolutely get into, assuming that you have data coming in from multiple sources.
Yes, you do not need to be technical in order to use this
Right.
product. It's just a web interface that you're dragging things on and clicking a few buttons.
Yep. But it's not just the summarization aspect. It's that podcast about it. I think there's a future where it's tuned into it's one person and they're just giving you a 5-minute overview and you can make it more or less technically detailed or this or that, really tune it to what you want. But the idea of I'm going to go for a walk and I don't want to have to be looking at things for my company right now, but I do want to know what happened yesterday. Like, ooh, that's really exciting to me.
We'll have to paste or upload a bunch of Git commits and then have it create a Git commit is if you don't know, a source code programming
version tracker.
Point. Yeah. So when a programmer writes new code, it gets saved into you can think of it as a folder, technically called a repository, and there is a note attached to it. So imagine
at this point in time, these files were added or changed or removed.
Git commits or new code additions from the previous day.
I love the idea of new information from the previous day as it relates to your job. That I really think that that's the kind of thing that a lot of people could benefit from. Again, this is more of a white collar worker than a blue collar worker sort of use case. But I do think that, here's a whole bunch of different information from a bunch of different sources summarized. That kind of thing we're seeing more coalescing in this space. The next step is, and now make that stupidly accessible to people. Imagine automatically on your phone, even simulate a phone call. That might be a step forward. Hey, I get a call from my AI assistant and I can talk to it and say, okay, yeah, but what happened with the such and such? And be able to actually do a back and forth. Right. Maybe that's the next sort of iteration there.
Well, Google is doing that, right, with Gemini Advanced on their phones, which they're trying to get everyone signed up to pay.
Right.
It's
a
not
chat with your
cheap.
documents kind of thing. We're seeing a lot of that as well.
And I did use they have their own version of advanced voice mode. I assume you've tried it out on your phone, and it's definitely feels very competitive with OpenAI's offering. I didn't notice any kind of immediate, that was mixed up.
We're well into the point where one of them improving over the other. It's kind of hard to immediately tell this is obviously a better model than the previous one without doing a bunch of tests yourself.
Yeah. So I don't know how much longer we're going to be useful, basically.
Well, I think we're going to continue to be useful because we still post on social media and we still, look at LinkedIn and open that up and like and subscribe to podcasts elsewhere. I think we're going to be useful to the folks over at LinkedIn and Meta and so on because they're slurping up every last bit of our data. And we'll continue to do so as long as we still interact with things.
LinkedIn, it got leaked out that they're building a large language model based on all of your data on LinkedIn. And then quickly they updated their terms of service to give themselves permission to do this.
Right.
After an insider broke the story.
Now, granted, the automatic opt-in doesn't apply to places with any sort of data privacy, like the EU, which is nice, or Switzerland. But yeah, we talked, 1-2 episodes ago about LinkedIn and saying somebody's going to part with them. It turns out, no, they're just going to build it themselves.
We talked about what do we not want the generative model to train on.
It's their specific thing, and they will very litigiously go after you, and they will block you from their service if you're trying to scrape it. And someone was going to build an LLM with that data, legally or otherwise, and it turns out LinkedIn's just saying, we're going to do it ourselves.
We got you. At least, as you mentioned, we are popular on LinkedIn, so maybe from this new AI's perspective, they might be self-aware and very high, esteem, or not. What
I could see the data from LinkedIn being super useful to other companies, obviously, and people wanting that data. And so this isn't an API access to LinkedIn. They want to train their own models based off of it. Now, the way the algorithm works for things like a Facebook feed or LinkedIn, there are machine learning models that already exist that underlie this is the most relevant information to show you in the most relevant and hopefully engaging and sticky sort of manner. what is generative AI going to do for LinkedIn as like themselves with their own data, not being accessible like outside of the system? What do you think they're going to use it for?
So one thing that I've seen them use it for is LinkedIn is publishing articles about work-related topics. The one that I saw yesterday, because they pinged me to comment on it, and then at the end when I was looking at it, it was about the question was like, if there's a data breach with your data science project, what are the steps that you should take to address the situation and remediate any concern? And then they were pinging people to comment on it, which is something LinkedIn does. But at the bottom, I noted, they said this story was entirely generated by AI. And, they asked for the comment on what you thought about the stories. So they
Was that a LinkedIn built story?
Yes,
Oh, okay.
It was a LinkedIn story. LinkedIn wrote it, not some person on LinkedIn.
Not LinkedIn. Oh, LinkedIn, the company.
Right. AI is writing work-related, specific to industries, articles to create discussions and create more engagement on their platform. And of course, one of the primary profit models of LinkedIn is for recruiting and sales prospecting. Yep. So presumably they're going to leverage these generative AI models so there's already a ton of commerce that's happening on there, and people are communicating back and forth, trying to sell something, trying to hire someone. I guess those are the two main things. But how you go about doing that, I could see benefiting from a model trained on what is successful in doing just that. So there's that.
Okay. The LinkedIn help page talks about writing assistant features, which something like that is pretty built into everything already at this point. I don't think that that's the main thing that they're going for. I didn't see anything about, and we're going to just write blog posts based off of. Do you think that was a blog post? And we've kind of talked about the like hyper personalization aspect before. Was that a blog post that you and you alone saw in that form, or was that something that a bunch of other people had liked?
Because there were like 100 other commenters on it.
Okay. So this is LinkedIn will write in general for people and, float that to the top of everyone's feed. But it isn't, hey, Hunter, here's something you should be self-aware about.
Well, I think it connects back to I think you were hinting at this story, that there was a new social network released this week where everyone on the social network, it's just AI bots or agents or whatever you want to call them that you're interacting with. So there's a little bit of that.
It's basically Twitter, so it's like small chunks of text. It's called social AI, and this is the dead internet theory manifest. If anyone's not heard of the dead internet theory,
we've spoken about it before.
Yeah, it's basically the internet's dead. It's not really real people. Even pre-LLM, this is something people have been talking about for a long time. It's not real stuff. It's maybe some farmed engagement type things, but it's not really actual people really engaging with each other. Someone saw that and said, this seems like a great idea. Let's actually make it, and then made a social network where there's no real people.
It was doing pretty well in the App Store the other day. I did take a brief look.
Why? Well, why would a person then download it to just purposely see a bunch of not real people interacting with each other?
I think it's becoming more and more socially acceptable. I think so. Part of our theory is that this has already been happening for a very long time. And I don't even really think it's a theory that these social networks and a large part of the internet is not generated by real people. Yet real people
even
interact
if by real
with them.
people, it's not genuine people, shall we say.
Correct.
This is purposeful misinformation by a bunch of people in a call center somewhere, that kind of thing.
And now we've spoken before about the virtual influencers on Instagram, where every picture is of this fake identity, and tons of people there interacting with them. We've talked about your virtual girlfriend or boyfriend and having conversations, and then maybe one day you'll get married to them, etc. So I think that these relationships and interactions with these artificial agents is becoming more and more mainstream. They don't need to hide it anymore. They can just embrace the fact, and that maybe you do want to go onto a social network where everyone else is fake. And it's also, like, I don't know, there's an element of a safe space, an element of you go on a video game and you're interacting in this open world and you're having a good time. And that's like, why do you do that? That's all fake because it's entertaining.
We were talking about a Minecraft with agents thing. Yeah. This is kind of similar to that, right? Are we going to see this social network where there start to be weird political movements that kind of bubble out from it? And here's a group of AI agents that have all banded together and
Yeah,
really
I don't even
think
want to
that we
imagine
should.
what they'll be eating on that social network.
Yeah.
It's all just a race until it becomes self-aware and the superintelligence arrives, and then there really just isn't a place for any of us anymore. We just get
There's
to
always
sit back
social
and
media.
watch. That maybe that's the real use case for the new social. Like how will you know what all the AI agents are up to if you can't go on their social network and read their tweets and their blog posts?
Oh,
and,
this is
and see their
safeguarding the
pictures?
future of humanity, you're saying.
Potentially. That is
Yeah,
a
right.
use case.
As long as we're allowed to see what it is that they're up to.
Yeah, I can buy that.
Okay.
And who knows? They might be self-aware. You've been listening to another episode of the most wonderful AI-themed podcast that also discusses gadgets and anything else we might want to discuss. Just waiting to the day that AI replaces us. But we are here, twice a week with new material. And if you're enjoying it, maybe like and subscribe. Is that what the people say? Like and subscribe.
Smash that like button.
Smash that like button.
Smash buttons, just kind of in general. One of them is going to be something that we like. If there's stars available on whatever platform you've got, give us 5 of them. Unless the scale's higher than 5, in which case give us whatever the top one is. Or don't. You tell us what you think. We'll adapt to it.
Or don't.
We'll fine tune on it.
We need some AI followers to really hype us up.
We have more.
Have to go back and listen to another AI podcast. And you can listen to us on every major platform: Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, TikTok. If you want just the clips, there might be an X account somewhere. There's one episode on Rumble. I kind of abandoned it, but I did manage to get one. It was a pain publishing things to Rumble, but there is an episode on Rumble, technically speaking. But yeah, it should be available wherever you listen to podcasts, and go in your podcast player, search for They Might Be Self-Aware, and you're gonna find it. And yeah, rest assured, we will keep you up to date on the impending self-awareness. Until next time.
They might be self-aware.